Saturday Showdown was good. It wasn't. Because now we have the Sunday Brodown. And I am very much looking forward to seeing what they have for us here as the Renekton Respect obviously has to come in. This is our Lord. He's going to take away the Rumble here, as Rumble Maokai do seem to be our red side bans of choice for a lot of these teams. Do have to remind everyone that, once again, Aurora not going to be enabled for today's games. Hopefully we can sort out all of those issues and she will be back with us, but it's not going to be happening anytime soon. As Ash and Misfortune, the Misfortune ban I think is quite interesting. One more to come through here. Vi, certainly something that's worth looking at, although not necessarily a Sylvie champion. See what they do decide to take away here is Yone is the one that's going to go. Ever since Fisher had that decent game, yeah, you can see having a bit of a giggle about it, as Lilia will be the priority lock-in here. A champion that we've seen really rise in success. I feel like her popularity has remained the same, but she started off losing a bunch of games and now has actually found some value here in the LCK, which is definitely great to see. But what are the Giga Chads going to answer it with, Chronicler? That is the big question. The blind Gnar. Beautiful. Tried, true, tested. You love to see it. That's going to be Viego as well into the Lilia, which is a gamble. But when you have weighed the dice in your favor already, like the Giga Chads obviously have, it's not really a gamble, is it?
I'm not convinced, Atlas. I think Blind Gnar has been kind of dropped from drafts for a very good reason. It's that it feels like there are a lot of answers. Now, I know my boy Mihal. He's not going to go for any of those counters. He's just going to look at Cassandre, which is a self-counter. But he knows what matters is the team. And I want to highlight here as well, the cool thing to me about the Lilia is that it is a pick that was already much higher priority, I think mostly in LPL. And we didn't really pick it even when AP junglers were stronger. We were more leaning towards the Zyra. But it is, I think, still a top-tier champion. The Viego specifically is cute because you can ult out of the sleep, right? This is one of the reasons why Viego has been, I think, more popular. And that 2v2 for the bros is looking good. And the Blind Gnar, I was going to really hone in on as being a weak spot. But after Mihal's pick, I don't think that's where my avenues go. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about Jiu being able to pick up the Ezreal, even despite the nerfs. Top tier pick, and there is a lot of opportunity to further ban out the bot lane of Breon here. Imagine that we're going to see, I was about to say a Jhin ban here. Jhin is one of those picks that you can just pick and kind of provide utility, especially when you are playing a more pick-oriented comp. Are they going to ban the Karma here is my main question, because you can end up in a lane that is really unfun and uninteractive to play into. And Sambra and Palu have really struggled in the 2v2.
I do think that you don't need to worry about it. I think it's about engage that Nongshim kind of need here. If they locked in Karma, I think you're just kind of very happy, because then the bros get to do nothing for 50 minutes and then just win the game. Which is obviously their desired playstyle in any situation.
Recently, Atlas?
Well, the thing is, they keep coming up against teams that want to win the game. And if there's zero engage on your opposition, they can't do that.
But even in the games that they won, they were actually so proactive. Again, the Kwangdong and KT wins both.
But that's not how they want to win.
It's only if
there's winning, and then there's winning in a Giga Chad way. And the Giga Chad way is to do not that much at all and then win. So Rel is going to be locked in here. That means that Polu can actually do a whole bunch of stuff. And that is a Poppy.
Ooh, okay, I was actually expecting the Alistar, which I do think is still the most likely. The Poppy, though, I actually don't mind. It does lack when it comes to the engage, but Poppy has been a rising priority support pick. We saw Mako play it a ton as well. Alistar, I think, is more well-rounded in terms of what he provides, but I do think that the combo Alistar Ezreal is okay.
Yeah,
not great. Corgi is still available, which is kind of insane to think about, but playing that into the LeBlanc is definitely going to be tough. I wonder if they have something more fun prepared, and if it's ever a time to pick out something fun, it's now, as the timer ticks down.
Just play Cassidy.
I'm starting to get worried. That is...
Yes! Oh my god, it's Nefiri! Okay. When in doubt.
What are you saying now? Huh? Atlas?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Nefiri. That's what I'm going to say. That is the first time that we've seen it. Yep, this is a champion not designed for pro play. That is going to be a Varus lock in here for Samva. And so many of our mid laners do have cheeky Neferi games. They just often play... I basically like I've never played this champion. It's never been relevant really in pro play. So this is going to be a learning experience for me as well.
So I've played against it a ton in Arena specifically.
Yeah.
Because that's where it is meta. That's going to be the main talking point here. But man, out of nowhere, Fisher coming in here with the Neferi, not something we've seen. But this is the opportunity to try and bring it out, right? This is the final game, or the final series, rather, of the split.
You're never going to win anyway, because you're against the Giga Chads. You may as well just throw caution to the wind, as it were, right? Like, that's what you mean.
That's not what I meant, but I appreciate your enthusiasm. I just trust Fisher, okay? This Neferi, it might seem like a bit of a gamble, but guess what? LeBlanc is not really one of the champions that can punish Neferi's biggest weakness, which is that everything she does is very telegraphed, because she just kind of dashes at you in a line and then stat checks you. There's not a whole lot you can really do about it, but there are some champions that can punish that, right? If you're something that can, that has a skill shot that allows you to just interrupt that. That is one of the things she really struggles with. That's not going to be the case here. And that mid-jungle 2v2, I think Brion is going to rely on. I think Manuda boys have got that one covered.
I do think that having Bro with a lot of single target could be a problem when there is going to be a bunch of dogs in the mid lane. But let's see what happens. We jump into the rift.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the rift. As you can see here, Fisher is a walking minion wave, or jungle camp, here in the mid lane. Looking forward to seeing what the Neferi is going to do. A pretty binary champion.
Yeah.
Basically one of those ones where if you don't kill your opposition, then you're not really doing too much more.
So let's quickly go through a kit. Also, I am pretty sure that you are going to be able to block so many of the very important mid-jungle skill shots, right? Like the Viego stun as well as the bomb chain with the dogs. As, maybe a lane swap coming through here as well, which would explain the Cassante pick. But let's talk about Neferi. So her Q is a little projectile, and if you hit, it bleeds, and if you hit it again, it does even more damage. Her W is a channel, which will allow her to just kind of jump on top of the enemy, and then her E is another dash.
Yeah.
Which
W and E just seem to be the same ability.
Kind of, yeah,
in a lot of ways. And then her ult is you get a shield and you do stuff. As we're fighting, Sylvie is in so much trouble. Is going to be able to get the heal back from smiting the camp there. As Youngjae, unfortunately, not able to lock that one down. 2 apiece, though, when it comes to sharing out the popcorns. As Sylvie does slink back towards his side of the jungle. We'll be starting off on the Wolves, and by that I mean he's not. He is just going to queue it and then walk over to his red side and continue over there. So let's see how this lane swap is going to fare. You can see Mihail already up towards the top side of the map to help out his lane. As Fisher dashing forward does land a Q, and Fate wins the trade.
As we saw there, that little icon, Neferi's bleed.
Yep.
Want to highlight, so really interesting, Brion actually reading the lane swap well, then having enough people at the ready. And then on one hand, Youngjae was able to steal away the buff on the weaker side of the map.
Oh no.
And on the flip side, Sylvie was able to get only the Raptor camp. So favorable trade for Brion in that regard. As we do see top laners both just pathing towards their respective bot lanes.
Fisher is not having a great time. Cannon does go over to Fate pretty comfortably here, as this walking wolf camp is just spawning extra Merkwolves. Love to see it. Going to tank a turret shot though, and that is going to be the end of that one. Now, I'm just interested in where the power spikes are going to come from. Is it going to be like first item for Neferi? That's when you can start roaming around and killing people. Yeah. Is it like a level situation that you're looking for? You can see that he has taken the electrocute. Is having a bit of a giggle here is Fisher.
드디어 쓰네. 드디어 쓰네.
What's the reaction from Fate?
이렇게 모르는데.
Okay, Fisher says he's finally getting to play Neferi. and he's very excited about that. And Fate said, I don't know how to play into this champion.
Yeah, which is actually, that's one of the big advantages that you have with these counter picks, right? So, in my experience, and again, this is really tough because what a champion does in solo queue generally is pretty far removed of what makes a champion good in pro play because it works so differently. I do think Fischer's gonna have to work on hitting his Qs, but in my experience, Neferi is really interesting in that she actually is one of the assassins that I'd argue skills relatively well, but she is really just a side lane threat and not much else. I think piloting this champion in teamfights is really, really tough because what normally happens for a lot of assassins is that you have, you know, either a form of stealth or you have
some way to dip and
escape,
dive.
Right? You have Aurora, for example, has her stealth. Zed has the ability to, and it's not like Zed is good right now, has the ability to snap back very quickly.
Ooh, there's a Q landing.
But when it comes to Neferi, she is very much just, and by design, like this was a character that was made for if you want to try and assassin out for the first time, this is her.
Yep.
And we're going to see how that ends up working out. But I think Neferi is, in terms of like thematic design, a really cool champion, and I'm really happy that we get to see it in this game. And
I just like that you get to play as a jungle camp, as the chain is going to connect and Fischer has to flash to get out of the way of Fate there. If that hadn't landed, then that could have gone directly the other way. But unfortunately, it does now mean that even just in the 1v1, Neferi going down.
Actually, a really good example of what I was saying earlier. I didn't expect it to be disfavored for Mr. Fate, though, is that when Neferi starts channeling her W, like, you know what's going to happen. You know the timing, you know when she's going to go in. So you can actually use that to guarantee that you land skill shots, which is also why I think she feels so snowbally, because if she can do that and your skill shot hitting doesn't matter, then there's not really anything you can do.
Yeah.
One way or another. As Fischer only sitting on a long sword, and the main thing is how are you going to be able to get this Neferi kind of back in the game? Because right now, things are looking a little rough, but I trust my Noodle boys, and I imagine once it gets to side lanes, Fischer is going to pop off Atlas.
I think that he is probably going to try and not be in a lane with anyone if he can possibly help it, as Mihail forced to flash towards the top side of the map. Sylvie, though, going to make use of the time by taking at least one of these grubs. Fischer moving on over as Polu gets on in here. That is going to be a crash down employed, and so much damage onto Sylvie. Does have to flash away, but Fate easily follows up, and now Fischer and Vital. Oh God, Fischer is going nuts! He's able to get two here as Polu is trying to run away. All the doggos come out, and it's a double, make it a triple, and I think Fischer's back in the game.
Who let the dogs out, Atlas? I think Fischer did. As he gets a triple, and all of a sudden, all his laning woes forgotten.
I think he's probably doing okay now. Yeah. That is the... So did Fischer hit he hit level 6?
Yeah, so...
Getting towards the fight. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and when you, as many assassins, I haven't talked about this yet, but if you activate your ultimate and you start getting kills...
Yeah, because you get the shield back over and over again, right?
It refreshes it. So it's not fun for the opponent to play into. And Fischer ends up getting a... like, again, I want to reiterate, this is a very snowbally champion.
Not pity, not pity.
Oh my God, Atlas!
Oh, Fischer's coming alive today. And I mean, I am the bro guy, but this is it's pretty difficult not to love a new champion being played and Fischer having so much fun whilst doing it. This is a rough one.
Still, like, gonna be about 10 CS behind when all is said and done. Has now picked up the early Tiamat. It's going to help out a lot with the wave clear, as we see. Want to ideally try and hit the Qs on your opponents as opposed to, you know, using them to clear the waves, because then your trading becomes a whole lot weaker. And now we're starting to see Fate struggle a little bit. And again, I think this is only going to get better. I wonder if Fischer is also going to go for Mercs, which I think are pretty decent, particularly into this 2v2.
Yep, looks like that is
corruption as well.
Probably going to be the way. Sylvie just taking down Gromp and is blue buff, and we'll head over towards that bottom side. I haven't really seen this bottom lane too much. The Ezreal Alistar, which is famously one of the weakest lanes in the game, has certainly become a whole lot better given the resurgence of the Ezreal. But since the nerfs, it's probably still not going to be feeling the greatest, as Polo's going to have his back interrupted. And him and Samba are having a pretty decent time towards that bottom side. As you can see, Samba actually ahead in farm by just a little bit. There's the Mimic Distortion, but in goes Fisher. Headbutt Pole going to connect onto Fate as well, but Fisher not wanting to go too close to the turret. Biting off more than he can chew there, but Vital is doing a great job making sure that he's in the right place at the right time. Fisher will be able to get another wave to crash.
And Vital coming in the last couple of weeks, not unlike Moham, really. After a full year of Kellen, comes in. I think Moham also had to kind of clear a higher barrier, because for all of Kellen's flaws, I think he also had a lot of great games, a lot of great weeks. It's more so just the type of player that he is. Whereas for Vital, I do think the bar was a little bit lower. Unfortunately, the Cougar experiment, not necessarily the most successful, even though you can see the thought process behind it. But thus far in this game, has been all across the board. And I gotta say, Atlas, I'm feeling good for my Nuda boys. A Fed Assassin in the mid lane.
That is the only way it's going to be successful. That
was kind of a prerequisite of them winning. I do agree.
And so now, winnable. Now it's looking like there is some possibilities here on the Nongshim side, as Fate does have a wave stacking up here, and Fisher not quite going to be walking into it right now, as doesn't quite find that Q. And all that one. As now Fate thinking about an opportunity to dash in. The Electrocute really just does a lot more than it used to. It catches me by surprise almost every time. Just feels like it shouldn't make your opponent explode. Quite like that. As Fate and Polo up against Vital and Fisher here. So it's just a duo lane in mid. Samba rotating down and Grubs being considered on both sides. 2-1 is the score so far, as Sylvie going to be a little bit late getting on over here.
Do know
Reward goes down.
Mihal does have his teleport available, so Nongshim can basically choose, do we want to TP him in, or do we just want to have him shove that bot wave out? Ideally, they'd shove out and then TP, but that might be a little bit too late. Ideally, you want to deny a fourth stack, as Sylvie stacking the passive.
Yeah, Fate getting dashed on there, but does get to go back to his distortion. Jiwoo taking a little bit of damage as the bros, I think, looking for a disengage. Wallop comes down, double flashes do come on through as they get put to sleep. Mile going all out though, and now Polu, can you actually hold them at bay? As it's 2 on the floor already. Fisher going to be going down low though, and that is a shutdown picked up for Youngjae. Nongshim, they do get the 4 out of 6 on the Grubs. That is good news, but that shutdown gold for a Viego is dangerous.
Not ideal for Nongshim. They could have done one of two things, and instead tried to do both, which wasn't the best, I have to admit. But
wait, so you're saying that instead of doing one of two things, they did 2 of 2 things?
No,
that sounds way better.
No, they still kind of ended up doing only one.
Okay.
Well, they got the Grubs, so I think that part is fine. But I actually really like the initial fight setup here for Nongshim, as Sylvie's able to deny the engage, and this is where Lilia ideally wants to be. And here everything looks great. The teleport from Miao, I think, is the right call, because otherwise there definitely would have been a team fight. And then here, we can commit, but not really, kind of. And if we do, we also need to make sure that we do actually have, you know, Sylvie in a position where he can follow up, Vital in a position where he can follow up. Instead, none of that happens, and they just kind of go into Meganar, hungry for kills, and end up donating a bunch of gold. But you know what? The Nuda boys, they're just trying to keep it close and entertaining, Atlas.
They absolutely are. I think Fisher a little bit early on the ult that time around. If, like, she had have been able to jump over the wall, having the ult activated, getting the shield resets and stuff like that, could have been a little bit of a better option. As you can see, the Merkwolves have made their way out into the river now. As Fate dashing in one more time. Chain's not going to connect there, as Polo could be in trouble. Headbutt Pole does come down. He's going to try and crash his way out of it, but in goes Fisher once again. Magnet Storm coming on through, as Fate not able to offer anything back there. And he does indeed have to flash over. Fisher now landing another Q here as the bowling ball doesn't connect. And look at these Wolves. They're getting very, very upset. Fisher, once again, with that ult on cooldown, but it's not on cooldown for all that long. You can see now with Brutalizer picked up, as well as those Merc Treads, it's feeling like Fisher is getting more and more dangerous in this game. will be able to get some spare time with this outer turret on the top side of the map, as well as Youngjae, with all of that gold, has built his Trinity Force. This is a very scary Viego. It looks like Fisher is just going to be able to get out of here just fine.
One of the big things you have to be careful for is that, as we saw there, if you do overextend, there isn't really a get out of jail card. So you do have to be very mindful of when you go in, because if you don't, you're just going to get focused and taken down very rapidly. As now, taking a look at the game, what has actually transpired. So turrets are all still standing. We do have 2 Drakes for Briam, but it's Chemtech.
Oh no, we weren't paying attention. We were distracted by the Neferi.
I imagine Ox was as well.
Yeah.
Really the only explanation is here we see turn coming through. This is a 4 versus 4, but I do agree with Brian's instincts, which is that ideally you want to try and be the one that starts a fight, right? You want to find a single target, isolate them, and blow them up. Like Viego, LeBlanc, Varus, that's kind of how the composition functions ideally. And then, yes, you have team fighting power with the Rel and the Gnar, but for me, the main power of this composition comes specifically from your ability to find target, kill target. And there are some good targets, right? Sylvie, even though he now has the arm guard, can get taken down very quickly when focused. And same for Fisher, who does now have his Profane Hydra done.
Yep, Profane Hydra going to be completed here. We'll see where Fisher goes as far as next few items are concerned. Right now, he's got an item, and Fate does not quite have one built up just yet. Also, doesn't have a whole bunch of health bar here. Is looking to try and distort away. There's the Mimic as well, as goes back to the first distortion, but there is a whole bunch of bad guys, and he is going to explode. So's Jiwoo, though. My goodness, the bros finding an angle here. As Neferi going aggressive, these puppies getting annoying. As you can see, Youngjae just going to heartbreak at the wrong direction. Not going to be able to contest this Herald, and that is going to go over to Nongshim. Gold still very even between these 2 squads. I think probably even made up for by those couple of dragons that you were talking about before. But with the Rift Herald, I think that Nongshim should be able to pull into some sort of pretty respectable lead.
I'm telling you, Atlas, playing a champion that the opponents have not played against is such a... It's so... Remember when Ivern was first played in the LCK?
It's a cheat code. It is an
and
absolute
everyone was
cheat
like,
code.
what does this champion do? We don't really know. I think that Fate getting killed here is a really good example of, yeah, there wasn't really a whole lot of outs there. You are able to just follow the LeBlanc. That part of the fight, I think, was fine. Nice turn from Briam. But then this is really funny. We don't actually get to see it, but it was just Youngjae ulting away because the dogs were like just a little bit too scared. He's like, I can't take the damage.
Yeah.
The Fairy's going to follow me. Might have been right. But that does mean that the Herald does go over, and this upcoming Drake fight might be a lot more doable here for Nongshim if they can utilize that.
Should be an opportunity as Youngjae moving on down. Charging up that stun. Chains are going to connect there, and oh dear, Sylvie in a fair bit of trouble, but they do get the teleport out from Mihail, and my god, the explosion of damage here from Fisher. Press W and everything is just fine.
Oh, and we talked before about the Lilia ults when combined with an MF ult, right? Because it doesn't actually cancel because it's damage over. The same for the bleed. I think for Neferi there, you saw that the sleep on Fate didn't actually get cancelled.
Yep.
Till it was already too late.
Damage over time is not going to interrupt it, so it works out very, very nicely. Bro going to be able to take an outer turret in the mid lane against kind of the flow of play, but that's because Fisher is alone in the bottom lane with a Rift Herald, and maybe this inner turret is also going to fall because there's no one making their way over outside of Fate just coming out of the Death Chamber. And Fisher, with a bit of spare time, I think should be able to just take this one down. And yeah, looks like Fate not going to be able to get here in order to stop this whatsoever. There it is, 700 gold over to the Neferi.
Paulo.
Yeah, Paulo, I'm not sure if he's in a very good position right now. Mihail actually really smart, going to be taking away the Mega Cone, and that is going to mean Jiwoo can rotate around and pick up a freebie. That is going to be Paulo falling down. The bros kind of just falling apart here.
Yeah, but you know, as casters, we always like, particularly the color casters, right? We like to pretend we know everything. And then when a champion like Neferi comes in that you've never seen in pro play, like, oh, this is going to be a bit tough. You know, I'm not really in. I've played the champion a little bit. I've played against it, but it was in arena. But then you see pro players have kind of the same issue.
Yep. I mean, Fate actually said it. Even though in solo queue, I feel like Nefiri does happen a fair bit more.
Yeah, it does.
A lot of our pros do like to just have that cheeky Nefiri game, but it's not seen all that often, and it's not going to be seen in scrims. So it's very, very cute that we do see it come out from Fisher here in this one. And what a way to have our final day of regular season, as Sambo kind of wishes this wasn't what the final day of regular season looked like, as the kiting was pretty good. And Fisher says, no, I will right-click, and you will die.
Ooh, yeah. Actually, nicely done by Samver there. Between the barrier and him being able to dodge the Q, actually almost enough to win that. But unfortunately, not only is Fisher fed, but was also able to just about burst him down. With the opportunity now done as well.
How much does it mean? Because like in a straight-up 5v5, you feel like Bro should still have some of the answers, right?
But this is where my boy Mihao just counterpicking himself actually ends up working out.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
All right. Fate is going to be able to get over the wall before having a nap. Watch out, Eep is not going to hit for too much, but Fate's still going to be taken down to 50%. And the LeBlanc still ahead in farm, but that's like the only thing that Fate can really say in the positives when it comes to this game. Outer turret getting lower and lower here as well, as Morgan in the longest lane in history. Have to be a little bit careful, although is still up against Mihail, so he's kind of doing fine. Let's have a look at this. Yeah, Samba just kind of caught out, trying to go back to the rest of his teammates. It's a decent flash, but yeah, like you were saying, just not quite enough.
The fact that it was close in the first place is kind of insane, given how bad this Nefarious. You see there as well, Nongshim actually catching Brion off guard a little bit. There was no banana brush control, but there were two people of Brion in the Nongshim jungle. And I think that's why Samver felt like he could actually make it through. Yeah, right now, Fisher truly taking over the game. And as mentioned, I do think that, okay, we're okay. A little scary there. As long as they're able to maybe punish Fisher if he goes into aggressively, there is still an angle. But Viego and LeBlanc, when you're playing on the back foot, really lose a lot. It makes them good as...
That's a Magnet Storm, guys.
He didn't even need to flash. That's not ideal.
Yeah. Sometimes the walk strategy is just enough.
Especially on Lilia. She is so fast, man.
She is quite fast. It's the extra legs. As Young Jay, he's going to be able to clear out his Raptor camp, now looking for a little bit of an angle here, but they're going to have to wait for this Magnet Storm to be back up and available once again before they go for anything. Minute and a half on this next Drake. Nongshim did manage to take the first Chemtech. And look, healing and shielding power, anyone? Nefiri, ultimate does get a shield, so there you go. There's the value, there's the power. Vital going to be triumphantly roaring all over the place for those extra heals. A quad stack of Chemtech Drakes. Oh my goodness, the value is actually absurd.
That's nice for Sylvie and Mihao as well.
Yep.
It's fine.
It wouldn't be bad if Polo
okay.
got it, you know, and get that bit of a shield.
Yeah, could be good.
Morgan builds his Sterix, you know? There you go. There's the value. All right, Banana Brush being fought over here as the bowling balls going a little bit wide. Looks like Rift Scuttler will be taken here by Nongshim, though. And the Baron's been up for 2 minutes. There's a little bit of a consideration as both teams just trying to make sure that they have the vision where they can find it. Fate going to be denied a back, which is not great 20 seconds before this Drake does come on through.
This is such a nightmare game as LeBlanc. So you have Neferi who, if you go into aggressively and you're like on a flank angle, she will W you and you will die.
Yep.
There is Lilia who, if you jump in and you get slapped and you're in the wrong position, you also die. And then there's also just Alistair, who is very strong appealing. And then the enemy AD carry is an Ezreal.
Yeah, and Cassante can just press R on you, and then you're not in there doing damage.
It's not even built. Look at the disrespect.
Yeah.
Atlas Mila's just building full armor.
Well, that just means that it's Vital's job to deal with the LeBlanc, as Nongshim going to be grabbing this second Chemtech Drake. And it looks like there's not going to be any response to it, just happily clearing out minions in the mid lane. And Bro, looking a little paralyzed, looking a little bit confused here in this game number 1 as we creep towards the mid game. And this has been sort of the nightmare of the Bros. Their early games have actually been navigated relatively well in the past, but it's trying to get their ducks in a row when the mid to late game rolls around, where things have slowed down for the Bros in very considerable fashion.
Now, unfortunately, Nongshim have been able to get their dogs in a row. With Fisher continuously applying this pressure inside. Now, mid turret being sieged.
Ooh, that is a Shattering Strike, not really finding the mark, and this turret will just fall. Nongshim not needing to invest too much there, as you did see Fisher sneaking towards the mid lane. That is just going to be looking for a little bit of a back angle. You mentioned the opportunity. Going to have item number 3 coming in really, really soon. And this Neferi is going to be very, very frightening. Not quite there just yet.
Oh, no Edge of Night just yet, but with that,
that's a lot of purple items.
That is not only
purple and blue, you know?
It's a lot of purple, it's a lot of lethality, and it's also going to make it even harder to try and deal with this Neferi. Obviously, does have a lot of mobility when it comes particularly to the E and the W, but that one's only offensive, so that doesn't really provide you any outs. As we do see now, who's going to be able to match Fisher inside? And I think the unfortunate answer is no one really. Fate, because he has been able to keep up with CS, actually ahead of the clock in that regard, sitting at 230 here, whereas Fisher is sitting a lot lower. Still okay in terms of items, but once that third item comes through for Fisher, it's going to be really tough. You can see as well, Fate, I think are going to have a tough time to try and fight for priority. Imagine Fisher is just going to show up, shove this in, and then maybe they'll look for a collapse. I think Nongshim have the Baron on their mind, Atlas.
Yeah, thinking about it, Fisher looking for an opportunity over the wall here. As we can see, the pack has regrouped, and he's now looking for a way in. Going to find that Q right there. As you can see, Morgan not with a whole lot of Narbar right now. Going to be throwing some boomerangs around. With his newly created Black Cleaver, though, Vital is forced to ult very early in this one. A possible opportunity. They're still going to chase him down. And now Sylvie looking to try and get on in there. Young Jay will be able to finish off the cow as Fisher wanting to kill Fate, who is incredibly low and is still going to be able to survive. Polu may not be so lucky as Mihail looking for an all-out angle. That wallop was phenomenally placed. And they are playing right on the edge here, the Bros. Morgan hops his way out. Mihail tries to go all out, but unfortunately it's Samba that locks him up. The Neferi has destroyed his Fate, teleports back in to save the team fight for the Bros. Oh, ward goes down, teleport immediately back in here. As Morgan says, you obey your lord, you put down that 75 gold worth of value here. As there's the Samba is just dead, but Jiwoo is going to have to sacrifice himself for that one, and that is another kill going over to Fate. That is 2 now to his name, and this LeBlanc is starting to get online.
That is a lot of Baron damage gone, though, and these health bars aren't super high. I think we're going to see Nongshim at least try. Fisher, 10 seconds. Yeah. TP's available, so they really just want to stall, but no ultimate available for Vital. Yeah. They're buying a lot of time, though.
Young Jay will be able to take him down.
Yeah, they got
out of the pit. So they do buy enough time. And there is at least no Baron going to be taken. Still, good to see that the Bros have some fight left in him.
So we take a look here. It's Vital overextending, and then a really good chase coming through from Morgan and Polu, where they're able to put a lot of pressure. The re-engage doesn't really work because there isn't actually a lot of damage. Fisher is chasing Fate, but Fate's able to stay alive, even if just barely. Bleed not quite enough. And then Jiwoo just isn't able to really find a lot of impact. But it's the teleport from Fate that I think is the master stroke here, because otherwise Jiwoo might be able to actually get at least someone down. And this is such a messy fight. Fisher is looking for a re-entry, and as a result completely misses.
Yeah, it just gets W'd.
That the LeBlanc is there, and then actually really nicely read here by Fate. Jiwoo was going to die anyway, like he was on the enemy territory, so I think him getting this picker is nice. Didn't have to invest his flash. But this is a showcase that if the fights get messy...
The Magnus Storm actually going to connect this time around as Jiwoo just Samba getting his revenge immediately. The bottom lane are wiped out. And there's a Lily in the bottom lane. Fisher is also trying to push that lane through. This Baron, an opportunity now for Bro, as they may give up Soul Point, but who cares? It's a Chemtech Soul. As Bro will be taking this one down. Fisher, can he actually threaten the base or something like that? It looks like that's not going to be the option as Bro tear through this Baron very, very quickly. It's on hit Varus. They're not too worried. And now the Bros just have full control.
And back-to-back team fighting, Atlas. putting the bros back. And Jiwoo, as Ezreal, you can feel so insanely safe, but you don't have Flash. And Paulo, I think a lot of his engages this game have not really been it, but that one mind and
luring them into a false sense of security, Chronicler.
Yep.
It's the mind games that Paulo has maxed out. Throw away a Magnet Storm so you can win the game with it later on. It's all about investment, and it's beautiful. Just like right here. He might just be straight up dead. By might, I mean I guarantee he gets the lilting lullaby,
yes.
and he's dead. So he's like, oh, mark down that cooldown, baby.
No, but you know now that the next time they see him, they're going to go in on him again. So Paulo is actually setting up the next play.
Psychological warfare at its finest.
I love how we started out at odds. You know, you, a Broly, me a Noodle Boy, but now we've both been swept
We've come together just purely because of the phenomenal League of Legends that we're witnessing on both sides of the rift, Chronicler, and I think that that is exactly the way that our friends with different favorite teams need to approach this.
I wholeheartedly agree, and we joke, and I think this series is pretty silly, but what I do love is that both teams very clearly, they want to win this.
Oh, 100%.
Like, and stakes are one thing, but when it comes down to these players, as is any athlete, they're just really competitive and they just want to win.
Yeah.
The stakes are kind of whatever.
No, I'm good with like chicken breast or like eggplant. I don't need steak, especially not every day. We've had plenty of steaks this week. Just not required.
Yeah, no, that's... I normally love cooking jokes. How could you do this to me?
I was planning that one for a while, actually.
Really?
Like, this one's terrible. I need to fit it in. And I'm really glad you gave me the opportunity. I appreciate you. Sylvie going to be clearing out this wave as Morgan's coming on over. And, oh, is Fate just going to be able to kill him? That's the question. Almost. That's down to 100 or 93.
There is a bit of a problem here, but looks like they are going to be able to get the backs in.
There's a pack of mid lane moving into the bottom side of the map. Morgan's going to be there to sort that one out.
Oh, look at that gold graph. That's perfect.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's the noodle hump.
You could at least call it Noodle Mountain.
It wasn't really a mountain. I think hump is probably. You can go with hill.
Yeah,
Noodle,
hill.
Do you like Noodle Hill?
Yeah, well, we don't have mountains in the Netherlands. The best we can do is like a 300-meter hill, man.
Isn't like a speed hump, a speed bump, you know? Man-made.
I kind of, yeah, kind of is. That's actually my favorite part about living in Korea is the mountains.
Yep, the fact that it does go somewhat vertical. As all right,
that's Mininar.
Could be in trouble. The ulti's being pressed, an explosion of damage.
That's what I was referring to at the beginning of the game with Nefarian side lane.
Yeah.
When you're Mega Nar, that's, you know, you're fine. When you're Mini Nar, not so much. And your mobility doesn't really mean that much because she's going to be able to jump on you with the W and then follow with the E even if you try the hippity hop away. And
the good old double dash is pretty powerful.
Side laning. I mean, you've told me double dash isn't very good, but I beg to differ.
I mean, you can still do it. I just don't think that it's the best Mario Kart, okay? That's all I said. I think that all of the other ones are better. That's all I'm saying.
You can't beat my nostalgia, Atlas. Let me live.
What about my nostalgia? Like N64 SNES? That's even more. That's more powerful.
Yeah, but that's okay. I also know, objectively, I am wrong. We have very straightforward here. Gets the ultimate in. And
look at that. Mechanically ridiculous. And doesn't even give an assist to his teammate.
Yeah,
kills him too fast.
That's my favorite part about Neferi. It really does feel like the Trundle of Assassins. It's like,
oh, yeah.
Do I have the stats?
I'm pretty sure pillar mechanics are actually
very and Neferi needs to hit a Q. Okay, but outside of that, that's not really the pinnacle of mechanical excellence, Atlas.
I mean, you say that, but I think that everything can be played to a level where you can see the skill expression. But you're right. I mean, we're getting really to the base end of it. All right, there's a little bit of a stun on Mihail, but he's happy to tank it up. Magnustorm connecting onto a few here from Polu. But where is the follow-up? Where is the angle? As Fisher, the call of the pack comes in, and look at the Varus explode. Fate gonna go down as well, and Fisher, yeah, if he can press W on you, I think at this point you're just dead. And Nongshim, after losing a couple of team fights in a row, they decided, we're not doing that again.
And this is what Neferi looks like in solo queue. Generally in pro, you don't really get this experience as Vital, trying to make sure that Morgan can't TP or back so that the rest of his team can end.
Oh, that was a cute one there from Morgan, but I think he's still going to have to watch from the enemy jungle as Vital heads off. Oh no, the interruption, too powerful. And these Nexus turrets will go down. Neferi, for the first time, will be picking up a victory here in the LCK in the final day of 2024 summer. Oh, and Fisher, huge grin on his face there as well. I'm a little bit sad for the bros. But, you know, sometimes when a wrench is thrown into the works like this, it's difficult to pivot correctly.
Atlas, when you see a player have that giggle, you know that one of two things is about to happen. Either they're going to come up with...
It's 0-9 or 9-0.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but also there is still a timeline where they're like, no, let's just play Cork and play it safe, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then the coach is like, okay, and the players, you can see their face drop. None of that. Fisher keeps giggling, locks in Neferi, and we get... What is a great opener to what I imagine will be a wonderful series.
I'm looking forward to the Neferi POG there as well, which is almost 100% guaranteed. What happens in game 2, though?
You ban it.
Do you actually?
You ban it, man.
Do you have to?
Well, no, but you do. Just ban it.
Like, you have to, just based on the respect.
Yes.
That's deserved. Look at this. We did actually, like, it is very, it's hilly terrain here, as we can see the Nongshim Hill coming back with a vengeance towards the end of this game. 25.2k damage here from Fisher as well. The Neferi worked. I don't know whether it's going to work again if we see it once more, but I'm hoping that we do regardless. Time for us to go to a short break. When we get back, Space going to break it down, and then we'll have game number 2. See you there.
끝날만해? 어때? 끝날만해.
나 나르랑 놀 생각할게 계속.
얘고 궁은 없는데 풀은 있을 가게.
끌고 간 거야, 끌고
아
간
그래
거야.
오케이 그럼 맞았다. 뭐야 나집 갔어?
아니야 아직 못 갔어. 얘 텔 찍을 걸? 가도.
아나 피고.
나르 끊었어. 야 끝내.
끝났어.
그냥 타워 쳐줄래 나 죽어.
끝났어.
타워 쳐줘.
So I saw a tweet from Genie, who does the social media for the LCK.
Yes.
There is only a single champion that has not been played in the LCK.
Is that Briar?
It is Briar.
Oh.
So Sylvie and Young Jae, you have
It's
a
on
job
you.
ahead of you right now.
Hey, I've actually seen some Briar being experimented with in the top lane, I'll have you know. So maybe the Lord brings out the Briar.
Briar top.
The Briar top, baby.
Oh, no.
It would not be great. But we'll just have to see. Sometimes you just have to go for the experimentation. As Sejuani and Yone going to be both banned away there by the bros, as Renekton and the Maokai taken off the board. Last ban probably going to be Rumble on the side of Nongshim. And there is a Cassante being taken away from Mihail, the one champion that the guy is just very happy to blind in any situation whatsoever. Not going to be there. And I think with the Cassante ban, you definitely force the Rumble ban. It is a champion that is picked into it relatively often. As the pros going back to an old favorite here, Umpty really did love the Lilia. And of course, isn't on the team at the moment. Young Jay going to be taking that one away from Sylvie.
Are we prioritizing the MF here?
No, it's Briar.
as the MF has been very good in trying to not only do good in lane, but then also combine that with the Lilia, which I think is a really strong 1-2. And unfortunately, we are strayed from the path of max entertainment. And to be fair, I'm pretty sure the Neferi was specifically tech into LeBlanc, as Nongshim have instead just embraced that we're going back to very straightforward, very classic stuff. So it's going to be Dinar to come out here. I imagine Cannon is going to follow. Although Cannon Lilia is a bit awkward in the 2v2. You can go GP if you want to. Ashe is still available and is, I think, completely fine.
Yep, wouldn't be a bad one. I wouldn't mind, you know, Morgan going back to like some of the Jax tech and stuff like that we've seen employed into the Gnar. Can be something that can tango alongside a Lilia a little bit more effectively. But we'll see what they do decide to do. They can elect to counterpick one of the lanes, I would imagine, and especially based on what the cameraman is doing here.
Lucian?
Fate wants to get something into the Corki, and there is that Lucian that you were talking about.
Lucian or Smolder have been our main 2 picks.
I would have liked the Smolder, but
I do feel like the Lucian, if you can really excel on it, is better, because it is a lot more oppressive. But I also think the barrier for it to actually work is way higher. And as Brion, I don't know if that's really the angle I would have taken with how messy the previous game was. Imagine if you had a Smolder.
Yep.
Could have been a
is that Evelyn?
Completely different. I'm not gonna get fooled by hovers.
But that was an Evelyn.
That
would have been really fun.
Yeah.
Ah, Ziggs jungle. I like the Ziggs jungle.
Okay. Okay. I like Ziggs here for Jiu. You already have double AD in your solo lanes. Yeah.
But they were hovering Evelyn before. That means that it's the jungle spot that we're locking in. And so it's jungle Ziggs. It's gonna be jungle Ziggs until it's not for me. That's gonna help me feel better about everything. Poppy going to be banned away here. I do like sort of just not wanting to deal with Poppy.
Banning junglers here, I imagine. Oh, actually going to be the Leona instead.
They already know the jungler Chronicler. It's the last ban to come through here for Nongshim. I don't know why I'm committing to this one so hard.
For a second, I'm like, wait, no, I'm not missing anything. So Poppy already banned away. Do they want to go towards the Rakan, I guess, then for Vital here? So you can go Rakan, in which case you're basically just abandoning the lane and letting the Ziggs roam free. We are obviously a much bigger fan of trying to play lane oppressive and try to utilize the Ziggs to get max plates, which Gen G very recently failed to do, which was very sad and unfortunate.
Yeah.
We were trying the... Was it you and Ox, or was it Valdus and Ox that were like keeping track of every single plate?
Yeah, no, that was me and Ox.
Yeah.
And it was really sad because they got so close to the threshold in the bottom lane, and it just sat like that for 7 minutes. It was very depressing. Ivern going to be taken away for next to no reason because we already know what the jungler is. Jiwoo, what is he going to be locking away here?
I don't want to see Zyra. I know Zyra is still a strong jungler, but I feel like Zyra into Lily has such a miserable matchup.
Yeah, Zyra's support is just really out of vogue at the moment as well, so probably not going to happen.
Okay.
As Rel the consideration.
Okay, Sylvie's cooking. Rel does work very well together with both the Gnar and the Ziggs, so I think in that case it does make sense. It's probably going to be answered by an Alistar, as we have seen many a time, is kind of the preferred counter matchup in that scenario. Alistar and Ashe, I think it's not great. Ideally, you'd like to have a support that can actually utilize the early pressure.
Like Nico?
Yes, but I don't... Yeah, we're not getting that. I don't love Nautilus.
No, he's been doing a fair bit of losing. That's Camille. Okay.
That's cool.
I was asking for Jax. Camille is the even cooler option and was also one of the reasons why Oh my god, are we doing it? Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. Don't be scared.
No, it's not.
Oh no, come on. It's the last one! Oh man!
It's fine. It's a game free, Halvor Atlas. We'll get it in game free.
Well, Viego has been only losing so far this series. And so that might be a good sign. And this is also, to go back to my previous point, the Camille was the champion that Morgan used on Hanwha Life Esports to make it all the way through the World's qualifier and then make it all the way to top 8 at the World Championships.
Yeah,
as well.
he did have Chovy and Deft on his team, which I think helped.
Okay, you can add your caveats if you want to, but it was Morgan in side lanes that I saw winning the game. And I will stand by that until my last breath. Sorry, Yasuo. I'm looking forward to this game. I actually think that the Ziggs lane going to be a little bit of fun. A lot of AD towards the top side of the map. I think Steel Plates are going to have a lot of value. Steel Caps, sorry. So that is going to be pretty good. But I think that Bro, very well-rounded composition. A lot of engage from a lot of different angles. They can be the ones playing around with this, with Bambi in the jungle, putting everyone to sleep and having a good time there. I think that OK Savings Bank Breon have set themselves up with a pretty nice draft. And I think if you are an enthusiast of 3-game series, this is the place to be.
I hope so, Atlas. I can only hope so.
You don't need to. It's happening. We have decided. Let's jump onto the riff for game number 2.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We almost had a Briar here in the LCK. Would have been the final champion for us to tick off the list. But unfortunately, we don't tick off 2 in the 1 series. At least not yet. Not until game 3, perhaps. That's where Sylvie brings it out. He's like, no, guys.
Wow, those Qs look really cool.
Yeah, this is a really old skin as well, right? Pretty sure. Relatively old. Like the mad scientist one.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a specific chroma or not, but those Qs look...
It always reminds me of Professor Putricide.
Yes!
And I feel like
he's
just going to talk about the slime pipes again, and I'm going to have PTSD from
that was my favorite.
2007 or something.
Yeah, 2007, 2008. That was my favorite.
ICC was really good.
Yeah, just Wrath of the Lich King in general. I had a wonderful time.
Yep.
It did cost me an extra year in high school. Non-ironically, that was a bit unfortunate, but it was worth it.
Yep.
Yeah, I got up to a lot of good times.
Indeed, me too. I didn't perform well at university that year. Let's just say that. But I did perform well in Trial of the Crusader. And so that, that's
that
the
one
trial
was pretty,
I did want
that
to
one
do
was
well
pretty easy, no?
I mean, it was. But I just felt like I wanted to have something that sounded like it was a test. And Trial of the Crusader was the one that I went with.
Oh, because it's a... yeah, no.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's on me.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
I apologize.
All right. Bro, with some control of this lane, as we can see, generally you want your first back to come through on the Ziggs before you're really comfortable. So just going to be awaiting this minion wave as level 2 is going to be collected here by Samba and Polu. Samba able to throw out that hawk shot just to see exactly what's going on. I believe knows now that the entire bottom side has not been taken yet, so they can expect that Sylvie might be in the area coming up relatively soon, as we need an extra link in that anchor chain. As, all right, Nah has not been doing super hot.
Yeah, you mentioned extra link. The missing link, unfortunately, not been doing so hot. As Nar really struggling thus far. We have seen him drop in priority pretty considerably, which I think is warranted. As
wow,
Fisher showing again that Corki's early game knows no limits, even in the face of his supposed counter. If you can find the right trading windows with your E up.
Yep, I feel like Fate did the thing where he's like, I'm going to hit the Q and hit my double tap, and then Fisher did the, I'm going to press Gatling gun and face you.
Yeah,
and that worked.
I do think this is still favorable for a Lucian in this instance, because you are so much better at at supplying very high upfront burst, but you do struggle in the longer trades. As no smite available for Youngjae, do they want to try and?
I don't think they're going to quite get here in time.
Yeah, might be a double scuttle angle here. Sylvie falling behind a little bit as Youngjae crosses over, but there's also not that much prio towards the top side of the map.
Ooh, Samba going to get stunned up here as Jiru does land the bouncing bomb. Nice little satchel there, but
ooh, that's
going to be able to do too much. They're just going to zone him away just to make sure. Bro did invest a fair bit, as there's a flash hook. All right, Polu, I see you, as Fisher is going to get ardently blazed to death.
Got to flash that initial hook. Fisher thought he could tough it out. Not the case. And it's really rough here because that snowballs into an immediate Raptor steal here for Young Jae. And I think the bot lane scenario is actually great because when you're the one with teleport and you get your opponent stuck in a bad set of backs, like that's super valuable.
Oh yeah.
I think Gio is one of the buying.
Morgan. Little sidestep was very, very cute. As the Hextech sweep comes through. Does miss the cannon, but Morgan doesn't need cannons. We've spoken about this, especially in reference to his Camille many times in the past. Often just falls behind in lane by a considerable margin and then wins the game.
As we have a nice little look here at our jungle invade timers, and I'd argue that one of those crabs also kind of counts as an invade, right? Normally you're supposed to spread these, and yeah, I think for sure you gotta just flash that one initially, which is unfortunate, but dying there is way worse, even with the TP still up, because it does mean that immediately that camp was taken. So although Apollo was there, so maybe that alone would have been enough. As I was saying, I'm a little worried that Gio is going to go for the Seraphs first. Although looking at what Breon have, I don't actually think Seraphs is that bad. I've obviously spent a lot of time with very opinionated Ziggs players, but this is the type of composition where having a shield to eat upfront burst, I think does actually have a good amount of value. Between the Lucian and the Camille, I think you're able to get a good amount of value out of that.
Ooh, a lot of damage here onto Fisher. But hitting level 6, Apollo once again lurking in this mid lane. And so Fisher just going to have to hang back. Isn't behind by too much, but you can see Young Jae, he is ahead by a massive amount. It's the Lilia's abusing Viego happening once again, this time on the other side of the rift, as Sylvie was considering going for a dragon, but it looks like he's not going to be able to get enough free time.
Jonas Strong is so mean. Like the fact that he's able to clock that Young Jae misses the timing on the W there, which doesn't matter. It's a little burn on the Dragon here. Are we going to get a 4v4?
Oh god, the culling is going to soften up Vital and Sylvie quite a lot as we begin this. Young Jae just going to move on down. He's taken all of the grubs and now he's looking for the Dragon as well. And Nongshim looking a little paralyzed at this point in time as the rockets are coming on in. There's the hook onto Polo. He's going to take a fair bit of damage. As Vital flashes away, they take down the Nautilus. And so that is going to be an evening out of the kills. It looks like Bro still going to be able to grab themselves the Drake. But Jiwoo looking for another angle here as Fisher may have them exactly where he wants them. 1 versus 3 though for the Corki, not something that he really wants.
Well, that was so close. If Sylvie had to flash over the wall to save his own life, we can see the replay if that was actually necessary. But if he can get the Nautilus, then they can just continue playing that fight. That could have been alone, or that alone could have been enough to then turn it around. But instead, it's going to be at least a kill picked up for Nongshim. They won't be able to get the Dragon. One grub is still up, but I imagine Young Jae is going to take that one because not only does he have Prio in his lanes, he's also heavily outpacing Sylvie. And yeah, this Viego into the Lilia just doesn't really seem to be working out. Yeah,
and we've seen it quite a few times. I feel like it's sort of like the accepted answer. Or something like that people have gone for, and I'm not a big fan of it.
It feels the same as, because I think in concept, the idea is if you get on top of her, you can burst her down quickly. I want to take a look here, because Sylvie does get low, but I'm pretty sure that there was a window there for him to just take the Nautilus. The cooldowns this early in the game are pretty low, or pretty high still, but like with the health bar still in Gio, with the health bar still in Fisher, I think there could have been an angle, could have gotten more out of that, because you see that then afterwards they don't really have the tools to get on top of the Breon squadron. And now, early game, pretty even here.
Yeah, well, Bro going to be able to shove this wave towards the bottom side of the map. You mentioned even, I was kind of expecting that Bro would be able to leverage this jungle advantage that they've had to create themselves a gold lead. It's just not really happened. The farming has been very good by Nongshim in their lanes, especially top and mid lane. Fisher being able to keep himself in it, even though that first blood did go over to Fate in that lane. Very nicely done. I find it really interesting because I do associate a lot of my solo lane Lucian memories with Fate. Only because he was playing with Summit, playing so much Lucian top lane when he was on Sandbox.
Wow, that's a deep cut.
Yep. It was a thing that they did a whole lot. They didn't do a whole lot of winning with it, but it just happened all the time.
Yeah, that was a consistent problem for Summit, unfortunately.
Bit of a theme.
I say as a Live Sandbox early days fan, do right now have another back forced here for Sam, or at least that's what it looked like. Wonder if he's actually going to commit to the back this time around, or if he's going to cancel it again. This is, again, one of the big advantages that you do have with Ziggs and Teleport. You should be able to maybe get a plate going here again.
Ooh, Fisher getting softened up a little bit here. That piercing light through the minions, hitting quite nicely. But Sylvie, you can see, lying in wait, vital. Only level 5, but still right place, right time right now. As I said, right too many times. Did use it in different ways, though, so I hope that you don't think that I'm just repeating myself.
We all are, Atlas. We are commentators, unfortunately.
Yeah, well,
the arrow.
Yep, it is going to sail through. Looks for Fisher. Ooh. Fisher looks at it and says, "Not today, sir."
It was closer than I thought that was going to be.
All right, hookshot does come in as Morgan looking for an angle here. Hextech ultimatum might be enough, or he might just be dead, and he is. So I was spending a lot of time praising Morgan's Camille. I do want to remind everyone that his Camille was often 0-3 when he was winning games, okay?
Okay. That's some important lore there, Atlas, because right now, we saw there Morgan trying to go in. To me, Camille is one of those characters where until you have your Triforce, she just doesn't feel like a real champion. Unfortunately, and I think we saw there, just didn't quite have the amount of burst that you thought you would.
If he hits the hookshot, I think. Then
yeah, but if Gnar has hop, like you shouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
Realistically, so if like I think the setup for that is fine. If Youngjae is closer, but that just wasn't really the case. So bites off a little bit too much, and now Mihao actually sitting on pretty substantial lead. Picked up 2 plates. Has now his or rather he already had his steel caps in that earlier instance, which was, I think, what kept him alive. But now he's going to have even more pressure here onto Morgan, and Nongshim starting to pull further ahead here, Atlas.
Yeah, I'm just confused why Bro's jungler is in the top lane when the top laner is in the jungle, based on these CS numbers. Youngjae well and truly ahead of Morgan right now, and is competing with Mihail on the amount of farm that he does have. So this Lilia is very strong.
Yeah, we are not playing for grubs, Atlas. We are looking to dive Samver here.
Yeah, I think they're wanting to make sure that Samver is not going to have very much fun playing archery here in this bottom lane this game.
Oh, maybe Morgan can TP, but even that's hard. I think Samver's just dead.
Yep, I think they're just going to give him up. Make sure that they maximize the amount of grubs that they can pick up. And there it is. Sylvie very comfortably tanks that last turret shot.
It's happening? We're doing
it? Yeah, there is another flash to come out. This time it's Mihail that has to use it. Hextech ultimatum coming in. Let's see whether Morgan did give enough time to Youngjae this time, and he absolutely did. Puts him to sleep, and there's the kill going over to the Camille. That's what it was supposed to look like. And you did mention that plates do go over to Jiwoo, and so he's at least able to do that. As now the Blast Cone going to be used in Brendan Valdez's favorite way to get Fisher out of trouble.
Good example there of Mihail's inexperience just after he finds a great outlane the 1v1. Being that far up in your lane when your team is diving on the opposite end of the map, you just can't do that, right? You can't be that far up.
Swift drift.
As we are feeling swifty today.
Youngjae is going to walk too far.
Oh yeah, no, he really is, especially if they get a bunch more of these dragons. But that means that now Jiu made his way towards the mid lane, and let's not kid ourselves, he's not getting full plates, but this is what I'm saying. I agree the wave state is a little bit awkward here for Mihao, and I think you can see that he kind of knows that he shouldn't be up. Tries to play a little bit safe, but he doesn't have Mega just now, and if he has Mega, then maybe, oh, never mind, this is the earlier
This is the first one, yeah. Just kills him.
In which case, I still feel like if Morgan plays that better, that should also just be a kill. Just goes in too early. And then here, I have nothing to say. This is very straightforward. But look at Mihail's positioning right now while this dive is happening. That's unfortunately not something you can get away with.
Yeah. A little bit of a shame there, especially when you kind of know that the jungler wants to be on the top side to take those grubs that was spawning anyway. Like, that was why that play was being attempted by Nongshim to try and catch them out, thinking that perhaps there would be a gentleman's agreement on the second round of grubs battle. So yeah, like you're saying, it is just kind of an unforced error.
Chiu That's good.
Yeah, he is going for the build, as there's the knock-up. Fisher is going to have to flash and does so. Will be able to clear out a lot of this wave. But you can see that there are Void Mites here, and that is a Corgi lying on the floor. So a little bit unfortunate with the positioning of the solo laners around the top lane turret. Hasn't necessarily been executed on perfectly, as the plates do fall down. 5 on the bottom side, 3 in the top lane. It's not the best for a Ziggs composition to have this many, but it is still not too bad. As Fate going to get a bit of a shove in here on this top side of the map. 6 Grub's going to be really helping out here, as I don't think the Mega Inferno Bomb is going to be enough to take this down, and Fate just tanks it. No fear. All right, Rift Herald. Going to be getting impatient pretty soon, and there goes Shelly. And Samba could be in trouble, but is going to be saved by Apollo's hook zoning them away.
Ult's been used there by Geo as well, as we sold towards that top wave, which means that that is a big team fight ultimate they're missing.
Oh, Vital! Just
Jungle Rel is back?
Youngjae here as he tries to crash his way out of here. But look at this, like the Swift Rift, man. It is allowing Youngjae to get these Qs in exactly the positions that he wants it. As Arrow going to be flashed out of the way off here by Jiwoo. Bouncing bombs coming on through, but I don't think Vital's surviving this one. That's Samba locking down the kill. And that should be Rift Herald going over to Bro as well. And Youngjae able to grab almost anything that he wants right now on this map. It's the Lilia that's the biggest problem that Nongshim needs to find a way to deal with.
And in the previous game, let's not forget, Youngjae actually had a wonderful game himself as well. It wasn't enough to actually get the win, but I feel like he was one of the bright spots. So right now, we take a look. A couple of back-to-back great punishes here. Just keep the flash, Fisher. If there's a teleport available here to like bail you out, then maybe you can get away with that, but this is not realistically going to happen. This is a bit of a split call. I imagine that they know that the teleport might be coming in, but yeah, Vital definitely not in a position where he gets to be that far up. Maybe just walk through the pit and then you can either crash over. Still have flash available as well.
Yeah.
Not going to be the case, but this is good news for us 6-game enjoyers, right? Brion make the gold basically even. My main thing that I am a little bit worried about is that I was expecting Brion to actually have a pretty sizable lead coming out of the laning phase, given that they got, and top lane counter pick isn't really a laning counter pick, but it should still be, I think, quite solid when you play with the jungler, which they tried. Because the comp is very finicky and very squishy. Like, I do think that you need to be very on point with your target selection, which they haven't been so far, don't get me wrong. Like, Paulo's hooks have been good, they find target, kill target, but if anyone missteps, they do just get blown up very quickly by Nongshim's burst. And against the Viego, that can backfire a little bit.
Really can. Rotero going to come down here in this mid lane. And I agree with you. I think that there is a fair bit of finesse, but what it requires could be a worry for some of our Bro fans, because what it's going to need is an overabundance of Bro activity to really get this one working the way they want it to, as Fate taking a bit of incidental damage here as Fisher does teleport back into the mid lane. Looks like a battle for this Cloud Drake, the pivotal first Cloud Drake of the game, as Morgan's found the backline. The arrow is going to sail by as Mega Inferno Bomb does a whole lot of work. Sylvie baits Morgan in, but Morgan's going to be able to pick up a double in the interim. Youngjae now trying to dance his way around, but Fisher is going to point, click, and destroy, as this Corgi is so incredibly scary. The flash from Fate. Can he get a double tap? The answer's no, and it's a triple for Fisher.
And Brion, they pulled the trigger, but it doesn't feel like they hit the mark just right. Unfortunately, Sylvie stays alive for much longer, and this feels like a bit of a necessity because Morgan is looking for a flank, which he finds, I guess, but the arrow goes wide. The immediate ultimate from Geo comes through, and you can see trying to fight in this position against the Mega Gnar and the Ziggs, that's not really where you want to be. And even though the damage comes through, and yes, they have a nice turn onto the Ziggs, the damage is already done and the cooldowns are low. There's still Mega Gnar, and Fisher, unfortunately, for Brion, stays alive throughout all of that. And that was, I think, a pretty big winner. Looking at the sums, though, a lot invested here on either side, but it's mostly been on Brion, Morgan, Youngjae, Fate, and Samver, all flashing in that engage. Fisher almost as is available. And Nongshim looking towards the second dragon here.
Yep, that's going to be the first Cloud Drake of the game. Likely being picked up here by Nongshim. They're keeping Bro at bay very effectively. And this Corki, after those 3 kills, now has the Trinity Force done and very, very close towards that first big 2-item spike to come on through. Almost has the tier stacked up. Same can be said for Jiwoo here, who's got the Horizon Focus as well as his Ludens now completed. No Archangels in sight. We will not see one because Seraphs will be immediately completed if he decides to even buy it, because I could imagine that getting some Magic Pen could be a thing to look at, as item number 3. Wouldn't mind a Crypt Bloom to come on through, as Nongshim now playing with a 1.3k gold lead, but Bro looking to try and answer that as Mihail possibly in trouble. There is a turret still up here, but Hextech Ultimatum's going to mean that Mihail's not really going to be getting out of here. And yeah, that's the kitchen sink landing on a mini Gnar, and he is not going to survive that.
Remains Mihail's biggest difficulty. Every team fight, I think, if he's playing his champions, I'm like, man, good angle, Mihail. And then he just dies in side lane immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
It's a very consistent thing that we see with a lot of players when they come to the LCK, as you need to be very aware of where you are on the map at any given time.
He's absorbing pressure, Chronicler. I think you're being too rough on him. That's exactly what he's supposed to do. There were 3 people that were down in that bottom lane. He got some ultimates. You know, you love to see it.
How am I the one getting called out for being mean to Nongshim? I don't like this, Atlas. This is some reverso that's happening here.
Yeah.
And now at this point, Morgan is fed because, as you mentioned, did pick up a bunch of kills. And from here on out, the Camille is going to remain a big issue. Now, Sterix has been found. Levels are starting to come through, level 13 right now. So base AD is rapidly rising. Those Qs are going to hurt. We're going to see to which extent Brian can utilize that again.
That was a very cute little hook that almost didn't do anything at all. As Mega Inferno Bomb, just to stop it back here on the Samba, also stops his health bar existing.
Yeah, that's not going to get better. That's the one thing that I am a little worried about, is that Nongshim do have Ziggs, and outside of straight up, you know, diving him, there's not that much you can do about it, which obviously can work. But if Gio like ults himself and places down mines and maybe gets a satchel off, that's still going to be a pretty unreasonable amount of damage. We haven't really talked about the Ziggs that much, but he is sitting at like 10 CS per minute.
Yep.
With 2 kills and 5 assists.
Yeah, the Ziggs is going to be a big deal in this game, and we know that Ziggs doesn't really struggle too much in the scaling department either.
No.
And so as this game goes on, going to be more and more valuable.
Yeah, there you go. That.
Yeah.
Cute.
Solo AP source as well, so it's like really difficult to itemize effectively into the Ziggs.
There's none. Yeah, as you're pointing out, like there is bladed steel caps. There's an arm guard as well. And no MR to be found on Brion, which makes sense, but means that easy pickings for Gio as Mihail.
He's getting real angry, throwing the house at Morgan. He does avoid the wallop, but he can't avoid the Gnar, as the Sterix does come on through. Mihail just finding these fights. That is a very dead Jiwoo, but it's going to be traded for a Morgan immediately afterwards. Still, the 1-for-1 actually going to be helping Bro here, as there is not really much to fight for right now. Polo probably regretting the angle of that hook, as Vital finding the Magna Storm onto 3. Polo ignited, and so he will be falling down, but everybody else having a nap, as Nongshim forced to use some flashes to get themselves out of the way.
And I think Gio got caught by an arrow there based on the cooldowns and then into a calling.
Yeah, that's looking like it might have been the angle.
Cool. And then on the flip side, Nongshim not only get the kill, as Mihail showcases that yes, Morgan did pick up, you know, his Sterix, and he had a bounty, but he still needs to respect Mihail, who is still quite strong if you don't have the damage to quickly burst him out. Because right here, level up, has the Mega Gnar available. Actually really like his reluctance to ult initially, because he knows Morgan will just use the ultimate.
Yep.
So plays that slow, and then as we see, very straightforward. Gio gets hit by an arrow and dies. Not really a whole lot more to that play. But then the decision for Nongshim to actually go in on Polo, who I do think, to be fair, does obviously make a mistake, goes for that hook, really shouldn't have. Ends up just barely dying to the ignite. Is that worth it? I'd say so. Yeah, you know, flash on Vital's not the end of the world.
Yep, I think it's fine. He activates Hex Flash, and we know that that's more valuable than regular Flash anyway. So
Very true.
I think it's totally fine. Jiwoo, I think, going to be finishing off his Seraphs relatively soon. And I was talking about possibly wanting to get some Magic 10. I guess he just doesn't care about that because no one's building any. And so he'll be fine. We do have Cloud Drake being started up here by Nongshim. That's going to be sole point, as they do get full information as to what's happening. Bowling Ball going to connect as Fisher's big one's really hurting here. Heading towards his rapid fire cannons. That sidestep! Woo! Oh man, Fisher's having a day today. Gets his Nefiri game and he's like, I'm going to use that energy and put it into my Corki play. Just ignore all the times that he's died this game. Looking pretty good, doing a lot of damage, and that is going to keep them alive. Sidesteps on the Bowling Ball, very nice as well.
Yeah, as mentioned, his round 2 has genuinely been good. I think that Fisher was really, really lackluster initially. When he came in as...
Oh god, Mega Inferno Bomb comes down. Samber is almost just dead at the start of this fight. Another great ulti to come on through, as Vital will take a little bit of a nap alongside Mihail. But the flash forward from Sylvie, I'm not sure about that one. Still, they're going to be able to now move towards the river, and Nongshim, they just grabbed themselves a kill onto Morgan. Now they're looking for more.
Yeah, Sylvie tried to get the extension on the hook shot, like the hook shot extension, because you're hook shotting towards someone with the flash, but it doesn't really work. It doesn't matter though, because they'll get Nash.
Yeah. And Polu not going to be able to make his way in. Of course, Jiwoo very, very good at just keeping them out of the area. The satchel already in place. That's the Baron going down. And even if Vital is going to have to sacrifice himself, it does not really matter. Youngjae going to get slowed down by the minefield. As, yeah, not even willing to face check this Tri-Brush. Decent sidestep there. I think Vital is still going to be dead. As Youngjae going to have to go golden. And Vital's still alive, guys. Arrow is going to sail by and not do anything of note. Samba might be able to do a bit of a dent into this this inner turret, but this is getting a little bit worrying, Chronicler. I was promised 6 games today.
Me too, Atlas, but no Noodle was left behind. Oh my god.
Boom goes the
you.
dynamite.
Look at you. He's not building Sarah, sir.
He's just gonna build a
straight death cap?
That's my boy. Somewhere there is an Orcs that is extraordinarily proud of what's going on, and by somewhere I mean at the space. He's here. It's fine. We'll be able to get his take on what is possibly his favorite build path for the Ziggs that we've seen so far in the LCK. But I'll let him say it. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe there are some other things that he wants adjusted, but that's going to be Ziggs taking down a turret in the mid lane. This is a Ziggs with Baron. This is a really rough time. Speaking of rough times, oh god, Fisher does so much damage. Doesn't even have the rapid fire cannon completed just yet. I thought that might have been a rapid fire hit, but no, it is just a Trinity Force hit. That is only going to get worse, ladies and gentlemen, as Nongshim pushing ever forward. Jiwoo with that satchel in place. They don't need to do that much to this turret, and it will just be going down. Vital comes on in. There's the flash out from Jiwoo as the Magnet Storm on to Polu. He takes so much damage, but that is the Corki wiped out at the very start of the fight. Mihail needing to get in here if they want to be able to take this one down, and there goes the turret. And so even though they do lose Fisher, they are still going to be able to get so much money from this Rebel Baron power play. 2.5k already.
A bit of a betrayal there, fortunately, as I actually like the initial angle here. If not for the fact that between Fisher and Gio, they just have way too much damage, so the backline's just immediately dead.
Yeah, Sylvie's thing looked weird there.
Yeah, trying to do the call. And then here it's...
yeah.
So I think Gio flashing is the right call, but there needs to be some form of coordination. If either Gio places that ult better or he has death cap, they just end the game straight up. It does have death cap now. And also... It didn't really matter because they still got the 2 turrets. Don't get the inhibits, which obviously would be ideal, but I think Nongshim are about to 2-0 the bros here, which would mean that Brion, as if I remember correctly, they 2-0'd both times, right? When they won.
So they 2-0'd Kwandong and KT.
Yeah.
And then just pieced out.
Yeah, which very based.
Absolutely
cool.
based.
Very, very brazen from the bros.
And I think that, you know, they see that Nefiri pick come in, they're like, Nongshim,
Oh no.
Man, you are ready to tango.
No, they don't know about Vital. They don't know! Oh, I guess Vital didn't want any of it.
Well, I mean, they kind of just wanted to take the last remaining inhibitor turret, as an arrow is going to sail on through. Great sidesteps there from Fisher and Jiwoo. And yeah, now the culling is coming in. The bros are coming from the other side as we have the circle of mist down here for Sylvie. In goes Morgan into the back line, but he's out again instantly. Fate diving forward, but it's a 1-for-1 trade of mid laners, and Jiwoo's still alive. It is going to be Polo able to finish him off, but now Mihail, he's going to be the carry. And Samba, let's see what he can do up against this Naris. It's a triple kill for this massive Viego. Mihail going to be able to help wipe the floor with Samba, but it's now only Morgan against 2 here. And Nongshim, they don't like those odds, I guess, because Morgan is still pretty scary, especially when Mihail has barely a health bar.
Yeah, so they could risk it and try and play for the inhibs, which obviously would be a surefire way, but you can also just get Soul. As I actually like the call here from Brion, you have to, right? Like, otherwise they're going to get triple inhib and you're going to lose the game guaranteed. As we see, a lot of damage comes down initially here from Fate onto Fisher, and the teleport that comes in is a mini Gnar, so there is actually a reasonable fight angle, despite the attempt to peel for Fisher. Eventually, they're able to get on top of him thanks to Morgan's ultimate, but the wallets are too heavy, right? There's too much gold, there's too many carries on the Nongshim roster, which is why this fight still ends up being a big blowout.
Yeah, Samba not really able to do anything in that fight, as we kind of saw.
And again, Mihail's team fights, man. It's really just don't be in a side lane when you're not allowed to be. It's got to fix it, which is very hard and takes even experienced players years, and also sometimes
like I was saying, he just absorbs map pressure. As Nongshim, based on all of the map pressure that has been absorbed by Mihail, they now have Cloud Soul, the greatest soul in the game. And they're going to be able to try and leverage that, get themselves towards the enemy base, and they can do so by moving a bunch quicker. Which is definitely going to be employed nicely here. As you can see, Vital sprinting, cantering, galloping around the map right now on his pants that are a horse. And Fisher in the top lane just going to be shoving that one in. 2 inhibitors are still up. It might just be that in 11 seconds time, this Baron's going to go down, and then they can use the Baron-empowered minions to walk down these lanes and win the game.
Huh. So we're actually going for Wits and Third here.
An interesting maneuver.
Yeah, it's only Lilia. I think Witsand's a good item, though.
Yeah, a lot of AoE.
I think our observers are trying to show us, and they are doing so very successfully. What do? You know Baron is being taken, but you don't have vision as, oh, the Hail Mary, level 16 can be...
Yeah, you just got to get proactive, Chronicler. That's what you've got to do, as Mihail is going to jump on top of Morgan.
Look at the bolt wave.
Yeah. Vital is now, look at him, he's corralling. That is going to be a lot of damage. The shield fully removed here as Young Jay going to go golden. Trying to buy some time, some space, but it does not work. Magnus Storm under 2 from Vital, and it's a triple instantly for Fisher, who is now just Valkyrieing forward. That's going to be the quadra kill, and Morgan might be able to give him the penta as the teleport's coming in. I don't know whether you want this 1v1 though, Fisher. This is a little bit dangerous. It is a Camille after all, as he might get brought down to his GA. That would be set up for the pentakill. As Morgan, are you going to give it to him? Are you a benevolent god? The answer is perhaps yes, as now they are... Oh, Jiwoo, really? In your last game as Fisher, yes, an understandable into the fountain there as the Nexus goes down. Nongshim, 2-0 bro here in the last day of the regular season. They just looked real good. Vital having a big giggle. And yeah, Fisher, I don't think he's too upset about that one being stolen away.
Atlas, I gotta say, seeing the Nongshim smile like that, I feel like we haven't seen a lot of that this year. Last year, the team, even in their losses, was always good vibes. But those smiles right there, Gio, like, oopsie, I really didn't mean to. Getting the penta, I'm a big fan. What a game here from Nongshim, ending their season on the resounding 2-0.
Yeah, the Noodle Boys looking powerful. Mihail, that is that's a smile. This guy has been pretty, I feel like he's been pretty hard on himself. He's been quite nervous in a lot of these games. Finally looking like he's a little bit relaxed, and it's good to see. And after a great game on the Nara as well, despite some, you know, things in the side lanes not necessarily working out. But honestly, today has just been about Fisher. This guy has just really come into his own. Jiwoo had a great game on the Ziggs. He's like, stole away a Penta. Feels good, man. And that's what Ziggs is like to do. But is it a vital POG for the last game? That's my question. Because his Magnus Storms were amazing.
I actually don't know who gets POG in this one. I think that it's probably not Jiwoo.
Yeah.
I think that Vital's a good one.
Yeah.
I think that Fisher's a good one. I think
Mihail,
Mihail's
the
good one.
vibes.
Yeah. Yeah, the vibes, but also like genuinely his team fighting was actually...
It was very good.
It was really big, and he won his lane, right? Actually absorbed pressure in early game. I know he gets it. It doesn't matter.
I mean,
it's
Fisher is getting a lot of camera attention right now, so it might just be the back-to-back Fisher votes
I wouldn't
come on
mind
through.
it. His Corki was clean.
It was definitely very clean. And the Noodle Boys just in general having a bit of a day out here today. Obviously, the bros let them win because they're just nice like that. Nothing happens without the bros say so. But the winning the League of Legends was not something that they managed to really do here today. And that is okay.
That said, I'm not unhappy with the way that Brian went out. At least, I think, particularly mid-split, there were a lot of moments where they weren't the type of team that would just lose with, like, no deaths. Well, they would get some deaths, but they would just give up. And I think they fought valiantly here today. Unfortunately, even the arrival mid-season of First Mate Fate, not enough to turn the team around. And the team fighting just wasn't there.
It wasn't. It was interesting as well that just all the way until the end of the season, it was Samba and not Envy, right? This week's games, they just stuck with this roster completely. I think that Samba had some pretty forgettable games this week. Unfortunately, I think he had some moments in the middle of the split when he was making his way in, where a lot of us were like, oh, why aren't we seeing more Samba? But it hasn't been how I've been feeling this week necessarily, as we're going to have a listen in to Nongshim in these final moments. Mega Inferno Bomb absorbed by some shields, but it does then mean that Bro don't have a lot of those for these battles. And that Magnus Storm from Vital, just gorgeous.
I want to hear what happens when the Penta
Yeah.
펜타? 몸 집어. 아 근데 쟤 잡을 만한 거 스테라기긴 한데.
잡고 싶은 가인인데.
아 가인이
뭐야 이거?
그냥 주면 안
Yeah, he
되나?
wants it. Just be careful with the GA.
잠깐만
일단 그게 중요해. 펜타가 중요해.
And now they're all going to group up.
정태 펜타 좀 먹여봐.
Nexus doesn't matter. Penta matters.
몸 집어넣을게. 펜타 줘.
반년이네 생각해보니까.
Yep.
빨리.
Go tank.
아 진짜 지금 안 찌르긴 하나 근데.
Jiwoo is such a bad guy. He is basically, you are sick, Jiwoo. What is wrong with you?
What a mean man!
All right, and Jiwoo does do almost 40,000 damage in a 33-minute game, so the Ziggs definitely was very powerful. I think out-damaging your opponent by 20,000 is pretty decent, so maybe he's not a bad guy. Maybe he just does too much damage, even when he's not supposed to be doing damage and giving pentas to Fisher.
Struggling from success. He just accidentally killed the Camille with no health.
Yeah, what can you do? But now we get the full team interviews as well, with Nongshim and with Bro immediately afterwards. But first, it's time for us to throw it over to the space to get Orcs' opinion on the Ziggs build.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Jisoo for the post-match interview translation. First off, we are joined by the entire Nongshim players as they finish their summer regular season. First off, let's hear from Mihail, Sylvie, Fisher, Calix, Stu, and Vital. Congratulations, everyone. Firstly, Mihail, how do you feel about winning your final matchup the regular season? You even won a POG on NAR in Game 2.
제가 2세트 나루로 POG를 받긴
I
했지만
won
저희 팀
POG
오늘
on NAR in Game 2, but it was not just me performing well today. I think everyone was able to step up and display a great performance, so it makes me feel really happy. I think you had a very solid performance throughout the season. What kind of aspect do you feel you have grown personally?
부분도 있지만 솔직히 뭔가 좀 이번 시즌
I mean, I can say myself also improved. but
기대하는
overall, looking back
만큼의
at the season,
경기력을
we were not
보여주지
able
못한 것 같아서
to
저쪽에서
kind of pull off
좀
the
그 부분이 좀
performance that we
아쉬운 것 같습니다.
wanted. So it's a big bummer.
이런 말씀해 주셨는데 앞으로가 더 기대되는 미하일 선수가 아닐까 싶습니다. 앞으로의
I
각오
also
한
want to
말씀
know your
들려주시죠.
thoughts on your future. You know, what are your
일단
resolutions
저희
moving
서머
forward as a
오늘로
professional
끝나지만
player?
저희는 계속
Well, the summer
발전하는
season
모습
has
보여드릴
come to an
테니까
end, but we
계속
will
응원해
keep
주시면은
working in
더
order
발전하는
to come
모습
back
보여드릴
stronger.
수
So
있게
please keep
하겠습니다.
supporting us. Thank you
감사합니다.
so much.
네, 여러분 큰 박수 부탁드립니다. 미하일 선수였습니다. 이어서 실비 선수 만나보도록 하겠습니다.
Now moving
네,
on
실비
to
선수,
Sylvie, the
오늘
jungler
정규
of
시즌 마지막
Nongshim
경기
Red
승리를
Force.
거두셨습니다.
That
마지막
was
경기이기
the last
때문에
match
좀더
of the
여유로운
regular
모습을
season.
저희가 볼
You
수 있지
seemed
않았나
a bit
싶은
more
생각이
relaxed in
드는데요.
the final
어떤
game.
마음가짐으로 임하셨는지
How did you
들어보고
approach
싶습니다.
it?
사실 여유롭진 않고 살짝
In fact,
긴장이
we were
오늘따라
not
더 많이 있는데
relaxed. I was
첫
more
경기
of
끝나고
being nervous, to be honest,
되게
because it
긴장도
was
많이
the last
풀리고
one.
해서
But after the
더
first game,
침착하고
I became finally
그렇게 해서
relaxed.
잘
So
이길 수 있었던 것
I
같습니다.
think that
오늘
kind of
정말 좋은
enabled
모습
me to win the
보여주셨는데
match today.
이번 서머 좀 돌아보면 어떠셨는지 말씀 부탁드립니다.
How do you feel
어,
looking back on this summer?
물론 그 플레이오프는 가지 못했지만
Although we
그래도
didn't make it to the
강팀도
playoffs,
여러
we
한두
managed
번씩
to
잡아보면서
take
되게
down the
좋은
top dogs
경험이
of the
되었다
LCK a couple
생각해서
of times, which
다음
is a great
시즌에 더
experience for
열심히
us.
해서
I think
플레이오프 갈수 있도록 더
based on
열심히 해야
this
될 것 같습니다.
experience, we will be able to do even
지장이시잖아요.
harder
함께해준
next season
팀원들에게도
and
마지막
even
한 말씀
hopefully make it to the
부탁드립니다.
playoffs.
이번 시즌 되게
As a
힘든
team's
일도
captain,
많고
anything
되게
you want to say to your
좋은 일도
teammates?
많았는데
We had a lot of rough times
이런
together. Also,
기억들을
we had so
그대로
much fun
가지고 와서
together
다음
as
시즌에
well.
열심히
So
준비했으면
let's keep all of this
좋겠습니다.
precious
네,
memory
응원하도록 하겠습니다.
in our
여러분, 큰
heart
박수
and move
부탁드립니다.
forward as
실비
a team.
선수였습니다. 이어서 피셔 선수 만나보겠습니다.
Next
피셔
up is
선수,
Fisher.
정말 기분 좋은 승리 오늘 가지고
Congratulations
가셨는데요.
on your
소감
win
어떠신지
today. How do you
부탁드립니다.
feel?
일단 마지막 경기인데 이렇게
So that
깔끔하게
was
2대0으로
the very last
승리해서
match of the
되게
season,
기쁘고
and I'm happy that we
기분 좋게
managed to get a
마무리한 것
2-0 on a day like
같아서
this.
네, 좋습니다.
I'm happy that we were able to end the season on a really good note.
좀 여쭤봅니다. 나피리가 오늘
I have to ask about your Nafiri. So, how much have you practiced on this?
제가
Well, it's actually
전부터
been
르블랑 상대로 조금
a champion that I've always practiced as a counter into LeBlanc. Laning phase is decent, and also he's pretty powerful and destructive in team fights.
빌미로
So based on those aspects, I was able to kind of unleash that today, finally.
오늘 솔로 랭크에서 나피리 플레이하실 소원
So any tips for all the summoners out there who's gonna try that in solo queue as well?
생각보다 까다로워가지고
This champion is very tricky, so
꺼내면 이제
do not just lock it in just after watching the LCK match. You know, it can lead to a
일단
very, very bad
나피리를 안
results.
하시는 걸 추천드려요.
Don't play this on solo queue, actually. I don't recommend.
말씀까지 해주셨는데 마지막 경기였기 때문에 좀 아쉬움도 남으실 것
Since
같습니다.
this is the very
내년을 향한
end
각오의
of
말씀
the
부탁드리겠습니다.
year, so what would you like to say about your resolution heading into next year?
팀 상대로도 좀 업셋도 하고
I believe we were able to make some
괜찮은 모습을
upsets
보여드린 것 같은데
at the end of the
내년에는 꼭
season, you know. I think we were able to
초반기에도
put up a
이런
good
모습
fight.
보여드리면서
Hopefully
기죽지
next year we
않고
can do well from the
기세등등하게
beginning.
경기,
Also,
좋은 경기력
remain
보여드리겠습니다.
confident
기대해
and
보겠습니다. 여러분,
display
큰
the
박수
best performance
부탁드립니다.
we've got.
이어서 칼릭스 선수 만나보도록
Next up is
하겠습니다.
Calix.
칼릭스 선수 이번 서머 칼릭스 선수는 어떤 시즌이었나요?
Looking back on the entire season, how was it? I joined Nongshim's lineup mid-summer season. Maybe in the middle of the first round robin, I was able to learn so much. It meant a lot to me.
앞으로 어떤 목표를 갖고 달려나가실 예정이신지
I want to know your
목표
goals
말씀
and
부탁드립니다.
resolution as you move forward now.
제 프로게이머의 마지막 목표는 롤드컵
My end goal as a professional player is, of course, winning worlds.
내년 목표는
But my goal for next year is qualifying for LCK playoffs.
시기를 응원하도록 하겠습니다. 여러분 큰 박수 부탁드립니다. 칼릭스 선수였습니다.
And that was Calix. Please give it up
이어서
for
지우 선수 만나보겠습니다.
mid
지우
laner
선수
of
연패를 끊어내고
Nongshim Red
마지막
first,
경기
and let's
승리로
move on to
장식하셨는데요.
Jiwoo,
소감
the
들어보겠습니다.
AD carry.
우선 오늘
How was
마지막
the
경기라고
last
이기고
match of the
싶었는데
season?
마지막 경기
Because it was
이겨가지고
the final match, I
너무
really
좋았고
wanted to
우리
get a
팀
win. I'm happy that we made it.
많이 잘해줘가지고
And
고마운
I am
것
very proud and happy
상위권
of my
팀들에게
team
매콤한
because we
고춧가루를
have become so much
뿌리시기도
stronger.
하고 저력을 많이 보여주셨습니다. 이번 시즌에 가장
Exactly. I
기억에
think
남는 경기
Nongshim
있으실까요?
showed great
이제
potential
아무래도
by upsetting some of the top
최근
teams.
경기인 수원전 업셋한 경기가
Is there a
제일
match that stands
기억에
out as the most
남고
memorable one for you?
그때가
Of course, the T1 series
제일
where
좀
we were able to pull off an upset.
게임하면서 제일 좋았던 경험이었던
I think
것
that's like the
같습니다.
favorite
그런
moment
만큼 내년을 향해서
of
더 큰
myself.
각오를 가지고 계실 것 같은데요. 팬 여러분들께 한
Then
말씀
what are your
부탁드리겠습니다.
resolution as you prepare for
이번 연도
2025?
항상 이제 지거나 이기거나
I really
응원하러
appreciate
와주셔서 감사하고
all the support, even throughout the
내년에는 꼭
losses.
좋은 모습
Hopefully
보여드리도록
next year we
노력하겠습니다.
can do better and
네,
come back
여러분 큰 박수
stronger.
부탁드립니다. 지우 선수입니다. 네,
One more time,
마지막으로
please give
바이탈
it
선수
for
만나보도록
Jiwoo,
하겠습니다.
and let's
자,
hear
바이탈
from
선수
Vital,
후반부에 투입이
the support of
되셨습니다.
Nongshim.
서포터 후반 후에 LCK에서
So you
어떤
were
모습을
brought
보여주고 싶으셨는지
in the very end of
들어보겠습니다.
the summer season, and you also had a role swap as well. How do you look back at it? Yeah, I joined Nongshim LCK lineup, so I was at first I was kind of flustered, you know. But still, LCK is a huge opportunity, and I was able to get the chance. So I really wanted to prove why I was called up for the LCK stage.
오늘 정말 좋은 모습 보여주시면서 그런 모습을 보여주지 않으셨나 싶은데요. 앞으로의 각오도 한 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
What do you kind of aim to show as a professional player in the future? I think this season I was able to learn so much and get a lot of takeaways. So based on those experience, I want to prepare for the upcoming season and come back stronger. And that was Vital. Please give it up for him one more time. And lastly, before we go, Sylvie asked the captain, anything you want to say to the fans as well?
매번 응원해주시는 팬분들 정말 응원해주기 쉽지 않은데.
I mean, I know supporting a team is not easy, but you guys were always out there starting from spring to the summer season. So thank you so much for all of your love and support. Thank you. One more time, congratulations on the win today, and Nongshim Red Force, thank you for your hard work throughout the year.
자리해 주시면 되겠습니다.
And now let's move on to the next interview.
마지막 경연 감사하겠습니다.
Please welcome Morgan, Youngjae, Fate, Semver, Envy, and Polu for the post-match interview and season-ending interview.
네, OK저축은행 브리온 선수분들 만나보도록 하겠습니다.
Please
모건, 영재,
give them a warm round of applause.
선수입니다. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
Thank you so much for joining us.
네, 먼저 모건 선수께 질문 드리도록
First
하겠습니다.
up, Morgan.
정규 시즌 마지막 경기였습니다. 오랜만에
So
카밀을
this
꺼내시기도
marks
하고
the
끝까지
end of the
최선을
regular
다해주셨는데요.
season. You
어떤
also
마음으로
pulled out a
임하셨는지
Camille
들어보고 싶습니다.
after a long time. How did you approach this match today? Because this is the last match of the season, I really wanted to get a win, but it's a bummer that we could not. And Camille does have a very, you know, characteristic. Camille sometimes can hit a power spike and pop off in game. I think I was able to reach that moment, but could not exert a lot of pressure. So too bad that it didn't really connect to a good outcome. And this year, I think there were a lot of moments where we were showing our weaknesses and some of the bad gameplays throughout the year. So I really wish you can work on those aspects and come back stronger for the next season. Now, Youngjae, although the final match ended with a loss, how do you feel about the summer season overall? I really wanted to, you know, show something else this year, but too bad that I was unable to get the result we all wanted. However, we always had the believers supporting you throughout the year, so anything you want to say to them? I'm always feeling very sorry for all of our fans because we could not play up to their expectation and, you know, their support. So I really wish next time we can display the best performance we can. And let's hear from Fate. You have joined Bro in the second round of the summer season. How do you look back at the entire experience? I can say it was relatively short, so I thought it could go maybe better, but it was actually really difficult, you know. I really wanted to pick up more wins, and I could not meet my goals, so it's a big bummer. But we are also very excited to see what you will bring in the future. What are your resolutions for next year? I wish I can play on stage longer, probably, you know, make it to the playoffs and qualify for many bigger stages. Now let's hear from Semver. So you and Envy were protecting the Bros bottom lane this summer. How do you feel looking back at the regular season?
열심히
I
준비했는데
try my
결과가
best
좀
to,
제대로
you
안
know,
나와서 그런 부분이 좀 아쉽고
give it my all, but I don't think the
배운 게 좀
results are
많았던
showing. But
시즌인 것
still, I think we were able to learn a lot.
앞으로 더 발전하실 텐데 다음 시즌에는 어떤 모습 보여주고 싶으신지 각오 한 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
What kind of performance do you want to show in the future?
부분 잘 보완해서 좋은 모습
I want to
보여드리겠습니다.
improve all of my
기대하겠습니다. 샘버
weaknesses
선수에게 큰
and
박수
come back
부탁드립니다.
stronger, hopefully.
이어서 NB 선수 만나보도록 하겠습니다.
Next up
자, NB
is
선수 이번
NB.
서머 첫 승을 견인했던 선수인데요.
You
돌아보면 어떤 점이
led
가장
the
기억에
team to its
남으시는지
first
들어보고
victory of the
싶습니다.
summer season. Looking back, what
사실
stands out
1년
the most for
동안
you?
결과가 너무 안 좋아서
This year,
팬분들한테도 너무 죄송하고
the general outcome or the
하지만
result is very disappointing. You know, I'm very sorry to all my fans, but
인해서 부족한 점도 많이 배워간
also,
것 같고
because
좀
we
자신을 좀
are
돌아보는
continuing and
계기가 된 것
repeating some of the
같아서
failures,
이
we
기억들
also
토대로
learned about
내년에
our
좀 더
weaknesses. So
마인드
based on
좋게
this
멘탈도
lessons
좀 잘 추스려서
and, you know,
내년에 좀 좋은 결과
takeaways,
있게
hopefully next year
열심히
we
해서
can
오겠습니다.
come back stronger and also with a
내년에
stronger
좋은 결과를
mentality as
약속해
well.
주셨는데 기다려주실 팬분들을 위해서도 한 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
Then anything you want to say to all the
뭔가
believers?
항상 좋은 모습 보여드리고 싶어서
I mean, we always want to
보여드리고
show you guys the
싶었는데
best we've got.
결과가 진짜
We
계속
all worked so
아쉬워서
hard for it,
팬분들한테도
but
죄송하고
we couldn't really pull it off on stage.
뭔가 이제 1년 동안
So
너무
I feel so
안 좋은
sorry
모습
about
보여드려서
that, you know,
죄송한데
because the entire
그래도
year we were
계속
pretty
믿고
much
응원해
underperforming, but
좀 더
if you
단단해진
could
모습으로
continue supporting
다시
us,
돌아올
we
수
will come
있도록
back with solid
노력하겠습니다.
performance and stronger
응원하겠습니다. 여러분 큰
form.
박수 부탁드립니다. NB 선수였습니다. 마지막으로 폴로 선수
And last
만나보도록
but not
하겠습니다.
least,
폴로
Polu.
선수 스프링 때 콜업돼서 시즌을
You were
모두
called up during
마치셨습니다.
the spring
소감이
season
어떠신가요?
and completed your first full season this summer. How do you feel about it? Yeah, I got called up in spring and spent the entire season on the main roster this summer season, but I think I left a lot to be desired.
앞으로는 어떤 목표와 각오를 갖고 나아가실
But you
예정이신지
know,
한 말씀
you've
부탁드립니다.
shown a lot of promising performance with your rookie spirit. What are your goals heading into next year? I hope I can come back stronger and win more matches and,
선수에게도 따뜻한
you know,
박수
get to meet
부탁드립니다.
our fans more often.
마지막으로 팬분들께서 모건 선수
And
오늘
before
그리움과
we
함께
go,
행복했던
Morgan,
서머였다 이런 치어풀을 들고 와주시기도 하셨습니다.
anything you would like to say to all the Bro fans, the believers out there who has been supporting you throughout the year with so much energy? I know this year our run was not easy, you know, but you guys were always there sharing this hard time together, and because of your love and support, we were able to always cheer up and, you know, keep moving forward. Thank you so much for your support, and I really appreciate it. One more time, let's give a big round of applause to the OK Savings Bank Bro players, and this will be the end of the post-match interview, and back to the space. Thank you.